It began not with a sword, but with a dream of oceans uncharted, of lands unseen, of treasures whispered across the winds. In 1492, when Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain, he carried more than royal banners. He carried the hunger of an empire yet unborn. The world was vast, and Spain was ready to claim it. Gold, that was the word that shimmered on every tongue. Oro, the color of heaven, the promise of eternity. To Spain it was not mere metal, it was divine purpose. For in those days, conquest wore the robes of faith. Every expedition was a crusade, every treasure a testament to God's favor. The Spanish crown believed it had been chosen to bring light to the darkness, but behind that holy mission lay something older, more human: greed. In the courts of Castile, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand listened as Columbus promised riches beyond imagination: spices, silk, gold, a western route to the Indies. No one yet knew he would stumble instead upon a new world. When his ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, reached the shores of the Caribbean, the world tilted on its axis. The air smelled of salt and fruit, the sands shimmered like dusted pearls, and somewhere in the trees, unseen eyes watched, the eyes of the Taino people, unaware that history had just changed forever. Columbus returned to Spain not with spices but with stories, of lands overflowing with gold, of rivers glinting like mirrors. He carried parrots, strange fruits, and a handful of native captives, proof that paradise was real. Spain listened, and Spain hungered. Soon a wave of expeditions set sail. Men like Hernán Cortés, Francisco Pizarro, and Hernando de Soto, soldiers, adventurers, gamblers, all driven by one promise: El Dorado, the city of gold. The conquistadors were not noble knights in shining armor. They were mercenaries wrapped in steel and prayer. Each one believed he was chosen, to conquer, to claim, to convert. But what they truly sought was fortune. In 1519, Cortés landed on the shores of Mexico. The air was heavy with heat and prophecy. Before him lay the mighty Aztec Empire, rich, advanced, and unsuspecting. The Aztecs welcomed him as a god. He returned the favor with fire and blood. In the heart of Tenochtitlan, a city of floating gardens and temples that touched the clouds, Cortés saw more gold than he'd ever dreamed possible. He saw walls plated in it, idols forged from it, and streets where dust itself glittered. And in that moment he made a vow: all of it would belong to Spain. When the siege began, the rivers ran red. Temples burned, drums of war thundered, and the empire of the Aztecs fell beneath steel and disease. By 1521, Tenochtitlan was ashes, and atop those ashes, Cortés began to build Mexico City. From its ruins, Spain drew its first true treasure. Across the oceans, ships began to return heavy with cargo, chests overflowing with coins, idols melted into bars, gems pried from ancient tombs. Spain became the wealthiest nation on earth. Its ports gleamed with silver from Potosí, gold from Peru, pearls from the Caribbean. In Seville, galleons unloaded so much treasure that the docks glittered like temples. Coins spilled onto cobblestones, priests blessed it, merchants waited, kings dreamed upon it. But the gold carried shadows. For every ounce mined, a life was lost. In the silver mines of Potosí, high in the Bolivian Andes, indigenous men and enslaved Africans labored in darkness so thick it choked the lungs. They called the mountain the mouth of hell. It swallowed 8 million souls. From dawn till dusk, men hacked at rock until their hands split, children carried ore until their backs broke, and still the empire demanded more. Gold for God, silver for Spain, blood for glory. Back in Europe, the flood of treasure changed everything. Markets exploded, prices soared. The Spanish crown minted coins faster than it could count them. For a time, Spain glowed with divine radiance, its cathedrals rising, its palaces draped in silk. The monarchs believed themselves invincible. But gold, like fire, consumes what it touches. Wealth bred arrogance. Arrogance bred wars. Spain fought to defend its empire across oceans, against France, against England, against time itself. And while its fleets carried treasure, they also carried death. Pirates roamed the Caribbean, black flags against golden horizons. Names like Francis Drake and Henry Morgan became both curse and legend. They burned Spanish ports, plundered galleons, and bled the empire dry one ship at a time. Still, Spain believed it could never fall. The gold kept coming, until the land itself began to die. In the jungles and mountains of the Americas, the price of empire was written in scars. Entire civilizations vanished, temples crumbled, languages were silenced. The Spanish priests baptized thousands in rivers that once ran red with blood. Churches rose atop pyramids. The cross replaced the sun. And yet beneath that symbol of salvation, an older world wept. The native peoples, once rulers of vast empires, became laborers in their own lands. They mined their ancestors' graves. They worked the plantations that fed the empire. And when they could no longer stand, the empire brought more. Slaves from Africa, shackled across the Atlantic, their cries lost in the waves. This was the true treasure of the New World. The labor of the broken, the suffering of the unseen. By the 1600s, Spain's golden age began to tarnish. Too much gold, too little wisdom. The flood of silver caused inflation so vast, it crippled the economy it was meant to enrich. The treasure that once filled Spain's coffers now flowed straight to its enemies, to bankers in Amsterdam, to merchants in London. The empire that had conquered half the world now drowned in its own wealth. Ships sank under the weight of gold. Soldiers went unpaid. The streets of Madrid filled with beggars wearing rags stitched with faded luxury. Spain had mined the earth, conquered continents, and enslaved millions, only to find that true power cannot be forged in metal. It must be forged in meaning. And yet, from that devastation, something strange was born. New nations, new identities, new worlds. In the ruins of empire, cities like Lima, Bogotá, and Mexico City rose as centers of culture and trade. The blood of the Spanish, the native, and the African mingled, creating new peoples, new languages, new faiths. Art, music, and architecture flourished, a haunting blend of worlds that could never be separated again. The Spanish Empire had changed the planet. It had stitched continents together with sails and silver. It had united faith and fire, greed and glory. But it had also left behind a question, one that still echoes today. What is the cost of wealth built on suffering? By the 18th century, Spain's empire stretched from California to Chile, from the Philippines to the Caribbean. The sun never set on it, and yet its light grew dim. Wars drained the treasury. Colonies rebelled. In 1588, the Invincible Armada, once Spain's pride, was shattered by English storms. It was a sign. The gods had turned their gaze elsewhere. One by one, the colonies broke free. Mexico in 1821. Peru soon after. The new world that had once filled Spain's coffers now forged its own destiny. The empire that began with a whisper ended in silence. The gold was gone, the glory forgotten. But the scars, they remained. Even after its fall, Spain's legend endured. Artists painted its conquests in gold and crimson. Writers called it the Age of Discovery. But the truth was more complicated. For every cathedral raised, a culture was buried. For every treasure found, 1,000 lives were lost. El Dorado, the city of gold, was never real. It was an illusion born from human desire, a mirror that showed not the wealth of the world, but the hunger of the soul. The Spanish Empire had sought heaven on earth, and in the end found only itself. Today, the ruins of that empire still stand. Stone fortresses crumble beside turquoise seas. Cathedrals tower above plazas where the descendants of conquistadors and conquered walk side by side. The air still hums with a strange harmony. The mingling of languages, the echo of hymns, the whisper of wind through colonial streets. The gold is gone, but its shadow lingers. It glows in the art, the music, the faith, and the blood of those who remain. The treasure of the New World was never in its mines. It was in its people, those who endured, who survived, who rebuilt from ashes. That no empire, no matter how golden, can outshine the truth of its own making, and that even the brightest light casts the darkest shadow. But it also reminds us of resilience, of cultures that refuse to vanish, of voices that refuse to be silenced. Out of conquest came creation, out of ruin came rebirth. The treasure Spain sought was never in the ground, it was in the legacy that outlasted it. From dust to dynasties, from ships to shadows, the story of the Spanish Empire is the story of humanity itself. Ambition without limit, faith without question, wealth without mercy. And yet even now, as the sun sets over the cathedrals of Seville and the ruins of Machu Picchu, a golden light still lingers, not of greed, but of memory. Because true wealth is not what we conquer, it's what we understand. It's what we learn from the rise and fall of those who came before. You've been watching Wealth Untold, where stories of fortune, power, and fate reveal the truth behind human progress. Join us next time as we uncover another forgotten empire, another dream of gold, and another lesson written in the language of time. Because true wealth is never lost. It's just waiting to be rediscovered.